Oh Lord, you're thinking, not another pop-up live. Yes, we're doing another pop-up live. Very, very brief one this afternoon. Mainly just to rattle a few things I have here, and something I've left over on the workbench, over on the office. Bear with me a second. Nothing like being prepared, and this is nothing like being prepared. Let's try it again, shall we? Right. Just a quick pop-up live this afternoon to talk about a few bits and pieces here. And that's it, really. Just to talk about stuff like this. And a book I've got here, which I've had for a while, which I've actually been dipping into recently. And a few other things. So we're going to switch over to the other camera, which I just have to set up now because it's just above me. So bear with me a second and we will rattle away with the stuff we are going to talk about. Right, here we go. Let's get this. Problem is this camera sits right above me and it needs to be lowered down. Right, yesterday I had a trip into Bristol to Antiques and bought some things, as you can see here. Mainly some Mr. Colour paints, and it's a whole slew of their metallics that I don't actually have. So what I've got here is their Super Stainless Steel 2, their Super Iron 2, Super Gold, Super Titanium 2, it's RLM 71. I've got some German colours here, ignore those. And Super Fine Silver 2. Now, Drew has apparently been raving about these, saying how brilliant they are. I've got some of their metallic colours, but I don't have these ones. So I thought I'll get hold of some of these. Also picked up a bottle of the MIG Ultra Glue, which I've been hearing people talking about as being super for doing photo etch, as it says there, photo etch and clear parts. So for 5 of my earth pounds, I thought that's a worthwhile investment. So look forward to using that on a couple of projects coming up, which we're going to talk about in a second. And also I never seem to have enough of RLM 70, RLM 65 and RLM 71. So I stocked up on some of those whilst I was there as well. So let's move them all out of the way. And let's just quickly have a quick look at comments. Anthony Bird, hello. Matt, hi all. Mark Ewing, afternoon, gentlemen. Afternoon, everybody. Now, excuse me. Quick cough. And a sip of tea. A couple of projects I'm working on at the moment. One of which is, it's the Fujimi Mini Cooper, old Mini Cooper they call it, but I call it a Mini Cooper. And what I am doing here is I'm actually building a replica of my Mini Cooper, which is a 1994 John Cooper British Racing Green one. And I'm actually going to be trying to build this and incorporate as many of the features of my car into this as I possibly can. So there's a fair amount of kind of customizing going on. You may have noticed there is a hole in the A panel, which, if you've ever owned a Mini, you are always dealing with holes in A panels. They are, honestly, probably the most iconic British car ever built. Not built for the British climate, quite frankly. Never mind. I'm also going to crack open some super glue and fill the scribe line you can see in there for the sunroof, because I get the funny feeling when I start painting and polishing this roof, that might actually kind of cut through. So a little bit of reinforcement. It's not going to be seen on the finished model anyway. In fact, not much really is going to be seen on the finished model, despite the fact that I have gone to great pains to gouge out the foot pedals on the left hand side, because this does offer left and right hand side drive options. Has left me with a hole, as you can see there in the footwell, quite frankly almost like the real thing as well, because again that is a notorious area for the panels to kind of like go all rusty and everything. I'm undecided what I'm going to do with this at the moment. I am tempted to try and recreate the carpeting that goes across there so that I can cover that up. Or I might just cut a square of plastic card and glue that on and then put some weld beads around the edges and have that as kind of like a bit of a weld repair. What I'm certainly going to be doing with the floor here is I'm going to be doing what my car is. And again, anybody who's ever owned a Mini knows that after a while, you never get the damn carpets dry. They're always damp. So in the end, I ended up taking mine out completely because they were just like a moisture trap. So the floor is on mine currently on the driver's side area is actually a mix of British Racing Green and also thick coats of red oxide primer to try and keep the tin rot at bay. So that's what the floor is going to be on this. It's mostly going to be British Racing Green, but there are going to be airbrushed and brushed areas of red oxide primer. So that's going to be a bit of fun. What's also going to be a bit of fun is I'm actually going to make some car mats from plasticard. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to trying to work out how I'm going to do that, because it's going to be obviously cutting the shapes from plasticard, but scribing in the tread areas, but also having the fabric area in the middle. So it's a little bit of a challenge, but I'm really actually, what is modeling if not a challenge? I've got some of the chrome parts are currently sat in a jam jar in the kitchen with oven cleaner on to get the chrome plating off. Where I was cleaning up the taglines on this one, the sprue taglines, I've just gone over them with a fine sanding sponge, so I'm really not going to worry about these. I should probably prime these in gloss black and then give them a coat of chrome lacquer paint. Similarly with the bumpers as well, I've just gone over them with the sanding sponge and then we'll gloss coat them. The rear bumper, as you may be able to see there where my finger is, there are holes and the end of it is shredded because on mine, the rear bumper started to really kind of rot away. They're not particularly well crafted components, especially if they're third-party components. This is why you need to buy originals. So that will be faithfully reproduced on this model. The only problem is I've put it on the wrong side, but we're not going to worry about that. And I've got all the interior parts all pretty much sorted at the moment. So it's a case of popping outside, taking some photographs of mine, and then translating that into the finished model. One of the compromises in this kit, this is a simplified kit. It's not quite as well detailed as the Tamiya and the Revell kits. Is, I mean, these seats at the bottoms there, they're not quite what they're like on the actual car, and certainly the backs aren't. But the thing is, ultimately, there's very little you're going to see inside this car. So I'm probably adding more detail that is going to be unseen than is going to be seen. But as far as these seats go, I'm not going to bother correcting them. But the only thing I'm going to do is some seat belts. And that's going to be about it. Also, I might scratch build for the instrument console a little iPod, an iPod mini, appropriately, with a little USB cable running into the car stereo. So that's going to be a nice little challenge. I might actually make the iPod out of clear plastic and then mask it and then spray it black. So that'll be, again, this is exactly the project I needed to be doing at the moment, because I've been doing a number of armor kits recently, and you kind of fall into a bit of a kind of samey routine. And I just needed a complete break from that, something utterly, utterly different. And the only other thing I've got here is the exhaust system, which I'm going to be gloss coating and then giving that various different shades of silvers and golds to get that kind of burnt metal look. Bone of contention with me, because I had a brand new exhaust put on mine last year, and then 2 months later, it failed the MOT. Never mind. So this is going to be a fun old project. Oh, the other thing I'm going to be doing with it is, on the roof, is it will be painted white. It will have a Union flag on it, but the Union flag, like the one on mine, which was a vinyl sticker, is going to be all faded and cracked and a little bit ragged around the edges. So again, it's going to be an interesting little challenge to do that on a car. So yeah, that's the Fujimi, put the lid on there, old Mini Cooper, or Mini Cooper as we call it. I drive a Binny now, so I'm still keeping it Mini, but I'm driving a BMW Mini at the moment. But yeah, that's pretty much my car on the bonnet there. And also, obviously, I will be putting my registration on there as well. So there we go. That's one project out of the way. A couple of purchases yesterday. Huzzah! Look at this. I've been wanting to get hold of this since I saw Mini Art announced it. Musical instruments in 1/35th scale. Isn't that fantastic? You can understand why on the Interesting Modelling Company show, Spencer and I are big fans of Mini Art, because this is just genius. I was in Antics yesterday, and I could have spent far more money than was sensible on Mini Art stuff. I probably will in the future, but hey ho. Let's have a quick whiz through these bits and pieces here. Well, one of the first things is you do get a rather nice little sheet here of musical notes, which I think is a nice touch. It's rather splendid. It's cheaper than doing a decal, so that keeps it nice and affordable. I think this is about £11.50. You get a bass drum there, a guitar, ukulele, violin, viola, accordions, and essentially you just get the same sprue duplicated twice. You've got a trumpet. Fantastic. I mean, I was thinking about this the other day, and I've got some projects. I've got a, would you believe, I've got a 35th scale Tamiya Kugel Schwimmwagen, which is going to be finished in British markings. But then I thought, wouldn't it be fun to just have a musical instrument stuck on the back seat? A guitar? I don't know. We'll think of something in the end. But yeah, I just you have got to love Mini Art. It's the law. You've got to love Mini Art. So that is a bundle of fun, and as I say, I never count these as kits. These I would call accessories. So you're never going to build these in one go. You are always going to dip in and out of them. So I just love it. And also, it's going to be a challenge to actually string a guitar with probably some of that Ushi nylon thread, but to actually string a guitar in 35th scale, there's a challenge. Another kit that I got hold of yesterday, and this goes on to what we've been talking about, the artisan kits, as we call them. This isn't new by any means, but it's an aeroplane I love. I love the Wildcat, or the Martlet in British parlance. And Antics had this at a fabulous, as you can see, £15.70 price. I was not going to say no. I was especially not going to say no when I saw that one of the options there was for a midnight blue one, which offers fantastic weathering opportunities. I've not personally seen any armor kits before, so this was a new experience for me. I've seen people reviewing them, and I've seen people talking about them, and I've seen articles, but this was my first exposure to them, and it has to be said, it's utterly gorgeous. It's, oh, this is I am really impressed with this. It's not overly complicated either as well, which I like. I think most of the parts actually are for the interior and the wheel wells. This to me is a kind of base standard of what a 72nd scale aircraft kit should be like. The surface detail is fabulous. Everything's nice and crisp. It's nice and petite. The breakdown is logical. Although the cowl is split into two halves from the main cowl, the cowl lip is in one piece, which is good. You get the rockets have separate fins at the bottom there. They've captured some details like the asymmetrical exhaust shapes because they're not symmetrical. One thing that I looked at and I thought, oh, okay, we're going to find a solution is, I don't know if you can see there under my finger, but they've got the navigation lights are molded under the fuselage on both sides, which means when you're cleaning up the seam line, you're going to lose them. So I think that's just going to be a very simple case of getting a punch and die set, punching some discs, and then reinstating the lights as blobs of clear, either clear resin or PVA glue with some color in them. But doesn't bother me. That's modeling. That's fun. That's actually putting yourself into the kit. And that's the sprue with, nice that the control surfaces are separate for the ailerons or the elevators. Very comprehensive cockpit. Some very nice detail going on in there. The instrument panel actually has, it's molded with the dial, with the bezels, but no actual detail on them, which again I find fine. I find that fine in 72nd scale and 48 scale. In fact, I prefer it that way. In 72nd scale, though, I think you can just get away with flat molded parts. But yeah, it's really, we will be putting some photographs up later on of some close up of the details on this kit. Some of the riveting on this and the rivet detail is utterly sumptuous. I really cannot say how massively impressed I am with this kit. Instructions are very neatly done. I'm sorry the exposure on the camera is a bit out today, but very, very nice, concise instruction sheet. As you can see there, how involved that cockpit is. There's some nice decals to go for the cockpit interior as well. And once you've got the cockpit out of the way, the rest of it is pretty much plain sailing. I like the way the undercarriage legs just plug straight into the gear bay. Yeah, I really can't wait to crack on with this. The only thing that I found slightly unusual is they give you the color scheme drawings. They give you the color keys, but the color keys are keyed into the front of the instruction sheet rather than actually just having some color boxes here. I know it sounds like I'm being a bit finicky. I probably am actually, but it's little things like that that can be helpful sometimes, but it's not a deal breaker by any means. And that's the one I'm going to be doing. That really does offer some fabulous opportunities for a weathered blue finish. So yes, I really impressed with that. On the decal sheet, incidentally, very nicely done. It's done by Tech Mod. You get 2 sets of stencils for the camouflage one and for the dark blue one. Instrument decals. There's also a bonus of an extra set of the cockpit decals. Seat straps. Okay, I like the idea of that they've kind of printed them in the round or yellow, which but that's, I'm not going to quibble about that. I'm going to make my own anyway. But it's all nicely done. Colors are superb. Nice dull red, a nice dark blue, and a very nice golden deep yellow, which sometimes decal sheets are let down by because they have a slightly more kind of lemony yellow. I'm looking at you, ICM Tiger Moth. And also the proportions, spot on. Big thumbs up there. That's good. I like that. So that is the Armour Wildcat Mark 6. And that is, like I say, that is just absolutely fabulous. Only slight thing is that the clear parts were not separately molded, but hey ho. But they do include templates for making your own masks, canopy masks, which is good because I shall be putting them into the Mac, copying them out, and cutting them out on the silhouette cutter. So hurrah! Now, because I was going to be doing some weathering on this scheme, I decided to dust this book off. Modelling School, an initiation to the aircraft weathering by Jamie Hago, who you may know, he's not a bad modeler. It pains me to say. No, he's a fantastic modeler. This is, as you can see, it's a sumptuously produced book. When was this released? Oh, look, it's signed. I think this was released a couple of years ago, actually, but it's still out there and it's still available. As I say, it is beautifully photographed and illustrated. The production values are absolutely first class, cannot be faulted. And the quality of the photography, the layouts, it's beautifully done. I'm just going to kind of like skip through it all here for you, but it is absolutely full of inspiration, ideas, you know, it's a really, really fabulous book, and I would say it is definitely worth, if you can stump up for it, it is definitely worth getting as an addition to your library. The only kind of slight criticism I have of it, and this isn't a criticism of the author, it is that the narrative in the book can sometimes be a bit over the place. And I'll give you an example here. The projects all tend to be kind of, they tend to be kind of grouped into chapters by technique rather than having like a narrative flow for a particular project. So say, for example, here we have near Neglected Thunderstreak. So you start getting into it and start reading it, and it's like, well, this is good. And then that's it. You're on to the next chapter. You're on to Faded Markings. Then you kind of skip ahead a couple of chapters to chapter 7, Metal Chipping and Distressed Topcoats. And lo and behold, the Thunderstreak is back. And I think in situations like that, I would rather the projects were in a more linear fashion. So you're following this from start to finish, rather than it being featured in a chapter earlier on, then it's kind of featured in a chapter later on, and whatever. Like I say, it's not down to the author; that's down to the publishers and how they've chosen to kind of present this book. And it happens throughout the book that you start getting into a project, and then before you know it, another one comes along, and you've got to kind of almost got to go flicking through the book to try and find out, you know, what happens next. It's like it's been designed by, I was going to say Jack Kerouac, but he was very kind of like he was very kind of stream of consciousness, which is not what this is. This is very much a kind of like a this is like this book has been laid out by David Lynch in that the narrative is all over the place, which is a shame, but it's not a deal breaker. It is still a fabulous book. There's an example again. There's the Thunderstreak. It kind of appears earlier on, and it kind of, I don't know, probably just me. But like I say, nothing to do with the author. That is just that's a publishing decision. But this is an utterly fabulous book, and I would seriously recommend you get this and add this to your library, because you dip in and out of it, and there are so many ideas and techniques to frankly steal, which is what I should be doing on the Armour Wildcat. And the other thing I'm going to be doing on the Armour Wildcat is I assembled my Radu Brinzan riveter tool today, which I've had for a couple of years, and I've never used it. Never used one of these in anger, ladies and gentlemen. So this could be triumph or glory. Who knows? Let's just catch up with a couple of comments here. It's a really good explanation, techniques and ideas to the book. I must have. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a comment from Dave Mummery there. Finally, I also picked up when I was in Antics yesterday their leaflet, and I was very, very excited to see that they have coming very, very soon the Special Hobby 32nd scale Wildcat Whirlwind, and they'll be doing it at a price of £56.75. I told Andy, you take my money already, because that is a 32nd scale Whirlwind. I cannot tell you how utterly excited I am about that. So we'll be putting up a link to that on the Facebook page. So let us switch back to my ugly mug. So that's it. Like I say, that was just a short kind of pop-up live today to talk about a couple of things. Get this out of the way, then I can settle down, listen to the football, listen to the FA Cup final this afternoon, get on with some modelling. But plenty to be getting on with. Oh, one final thing. And again, we'll put up a link for this. These are the Infini Sanders that I got from Premium Hobbies, who are based in Weston-super-Mare, just down the road from me. These are fabulous. I'm massively impressed with these. They do a starter pack of about 10. I think it's about 9 or 10. I think it's about 10 or 11 pounds. I'll put up a link for it. I'm going to be popping an order off for them this afternoon for the starter pack, because they've got all different kinds of grits and everything. As you can see, this has been used quite extensively. Just brilliant. I really, really like these. So see, it's not always free stuff, people. We do invest here to bring you these things to talk about. Let's just have a quick week through the comments. Anthony Bird says hello, Anthony. Matt Skill says hi all. Mark Ewing, good afternoon, gentlemen. Mark Ryan, hello. David Mummery, gentlemen, there's none of that type in my house. Absolutely. Paul Milligan, afternoon, lads. Is there no Les Paul guitar in the box? No, there isn't. I think these are more kind of vintage instruments, but I think you could use them pretty much kind of 1930s onwards. Bear with me a second. I have somebody at the door, so just bear with me a second. Oh. Talk about interrupting a live broadcast. Goodness me. We'll go here. There is no Les Paul in the box. John Bifford, recommendations for a punch and die set. I do, but I'll have to do it after the show, unfortunately, because it's up on the shelf. No, I'll go and get it now. Bear with me a second. Oh. Where is my punch and die set, for goodness sake? Here we are. I bought the RP Tools one a few years ago. I think I got this from Little Cars. As you can see, it was not cheap, but it's one of those tools that you're paying for quality. It is absolutely gorgeously and solidly made, and even comes with a little hammer, and the punches themselves are really they're nice and sturdy. If you have the budget to invest in your workbench, I've opened this, I can't get it shut now. And my OCD will not let me leave that alone. So, never mind. If you have the budget to invest in your workbench, I always say do so. In fact, there was a discussion on another page today. He says, just reaching into his workbench, about these babies, which I think we're probably all familiar with, the Despy nippers. These were 35 quid. Best thing I ever bought, because over the last 2 coming up to 3 years now since I bought these, they have been used every time I've been sat here in the workshop. What's that? 35 quid. That's probably the price of a couple of average kits, less than a standard armor kit. You can go out and buy kits, but if you're not building them, they're just expensive, lost insulation, or they're gathering dust, they're not doing anything. These get used every single time, and as far as I'm concerned, these are an absolute solid investment. So to answer your question, John, recommendations, I would say have a look around for the RP Tools one. I'll try and find a link for it, and certainly talk about this a bit more. But as I say, with punch and die sets, they're not going to be cheap. If you can find one cheap, chances are it's going to be made of not particularly brilliant materials. So, you know, if it's a case of just not buying a few kits for a while and just investing in the workbench and in the toolbox, I always say do that. It's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. It's like my light here. I got this the same Telford that I got the Despy cutters, and this light, 100 quid. You know, it's not cheap. Comes with 4 settings. Absolutely brilliant. The day we needed it because we were doing demos over the weekend, unexpectedly, and so I needed to go out and get a light, and it was fabulous then. When we finally came home from the weekend and I installed it here in the workshop and I turned it on for the first time, and it was a revelation. It was like I had a brand new workshop again. It was that game changing. I only had it on the first setting. By the time I turned it up to the number 4 setting, it was like, how on earth had I spent almost the last 10 years in here with the light that I had? I would have been better here with a candle. It was just, anyway. So we'll put a link up for that, John. Dave Swindle, this is the Armour Wildcat. He says the undercarriage needs a bit of care and patience to put together. Absolutely. Anthony Bird says RP Tools, which his Sister X agent stock. There we go. That's the recommendation. Dave Mummery says about Jamie's book, a really good explanations, techniques and ideas in the book. I must have. Absolutely. It's brilliant. Like I say, it's just the editorial decision to have the narrative flow all over the place. It just means you almost got to kind of bookmark everything with stickies to follow a project from start to finish. But it's just one of those little things. Michael Scott says, still using my old Waldron punch and die 30 plus years. Absolutely. If I could have got hold 30 years ago when I saw Verlinden talking about Waldron punch and dies, if I could have afforded one, if I could have got one, I would have got one. Because as you say, and as a lot of other modelers say, they're still using them decades on, which is the value of paying for decent tools, proper tools. Steve Moore says about the lamp, I've the same lamp, tried cheaper, didn't work. Yep, exactly. Jeffrey Kubiak says plus 100 on the RP tool set. I think he means agreement rather than is that agreement or price, Jeffrey? Not quite sure. Artie says, what make is the light? The light is from it's www.craftlights.co.uk, and it's item number 501 LED. I'll take a photograph of the little label up here and I'll put it up on the page so you can go and see if you can get one similar. So yeah, we will do that. A lot of housekeeping after the show today. It's the problem of doing live shows. Ivan says, afternoon, mate. Hello, Ivan. Yeah, Steve says editorialist pants, repeats itself all over the place. Yeah, like I say, it's just an editing decision of the book. Bit like my columns in MAI, they're pants and they repeat themselves all over the place. Talking of which, got to write one this week. So I think that's pretty much it at the moment. What's just turned up in the post here? Oh, that's exciting. Look, it's my Navy Wings leaflet thing has turned up, which is jolly good. So that's always good. Oh, not modelling, but there you go. My COVID lateral flow test and on a book. The book's not for me, it's for somebody else. We won't talk about that. So on that note, what's in the book? You don't need to know about the book. I think it's a cookery book or something. It's a cookery book. On that note, yeah, I'm gonna go have a lunch. Then I'll come back and then I'll put up the links to all the stuff we've been talking about today, and also stop having a minor earthquake here as I get overly animated and the camera wobbles up and down. So we'll be back tomorrow night with the live show in the evening with AN special guest. In the meantime, like I say, this has been a brief pop-up live, which I've now realised has gone on for over half an hour. So we'll catch you a bit later on. So stick around for the links that we'll put up this afternoon. So beyond that, stay safe, stay out of trouble, and we'll see you all on Sunday evening. So bye for now.